top. Okay, so yes, a few more celebrations. I like to see that. So when I thought about what we need to do to leverage, what I'm going to say is absolutely not new. Thank you. I see the celebrations going on. It is absolutely not new, but I'm hoping to be able to put a different perspective on it for you so that then you understand where you're going. All right. First of all, a couple of things I need all of us to think about. Whether or not you're announced as a winner on Friday, you are top 50 finalist. So at the end of the day, you have reached a very major milestone. So you must begin to be prepared. People are asking, what is Biashara Africa doing for us? I agree with that question. However, what are you doing for yourself before Friday to be ready for Friday? Perchance you're the one who gets to the top. What will you have done before that? And here are a couple of tips I think we need to think about. Be prepared. Before you win an award, you need to think about how you will handle publicity. So many of us, when we hear publicity, we think of maybe media interviews, but there's the whole aspect of social media publicity. So what do you want to say? Who do you want to quote? Do you have experiences? Do you have stories you can tell? I don't know if you've seen guys who get in front of the camera and they think they're like, it is important because entrepreneurs, go and have a meeting with yourself and sit down and figure out. I got to top 50. Pat on the back. Please be very proud of that. But also remember to stay humble because there are people who helped you get there. We know as business leaders, we don't do all the heavy lifting. We have staff members, we have family, we have friends, you know, those people who are quiet. For instance, you have to be at work and your child is sick and maybe your partner is also working, so your mother takes the child to hospital. Or you have a nanny who picks your kids up and takes them home. We do not always think about these as people who support our success, but I'd like to challenge you to think about, remember this is this is before it actually comes. And then prepare yourself to be professional. Write this thing you're going to say. Stand in front of a mirror and practice it, okay? Stand in front of a mirror and speak truthfully about your journey. There is a tendency around entrepreneurs to be asked, how did you make it? Oh, by the grace of God. I agree. Grace of God can work. However, that grace gave you steps to follow, all right? The challenge we have on the African continent is that we diminish the steps we have taken to get to where we're supposed to be. I was listening to a West African business leader who said, oh, by the grace of God, and they were challenged because the same thing I've just said, that grace gave you some steps to follow. So what are the steps that have gotten you where you are? Talk about those things. Don't start throwing jibes and jabs at people and being controversial. Remember what you're saying is a reflection of you. And I think that's a part many of us as entrepreneurs forget. Everything we say is a reflection of us and the culture we live in. Okay? And let's be positive. Yes, the economy is struggling. Yes, taxes are high. But there are definitely things you have done that have shown value of some of these things. I'll give an example. Maybe by paying your rates, then you're not evicted from where you are if you own your piece of land or you have a farm. By paying your licenses, you're in a better space. So there is indeed something positive that we can say about the policies, the tax regimes. We can call them out, but how we call them out matters. And be social. So we are all thinking, what is everybody going to do for us? What are your social spaces? We all have WhatsApp. We all have, okay, some of us have Facebook, depending on your client. Some have Instagram, some have TikTok, some have LinkedIn, some have all of these. Some have websites. So what are you doing with your social spaces that will position you right? You have to think these things in advance. Major corporates, when they win awards, you see it in the next newspaper, it's on the website, because they have PR teams who think through these things in advance and the statements are ready. So that when the award goes up, even if it is 10 o'clock at night, there will be a tweet on there will be a message on X, there will be something on Instagram, tomorrow it's on the website, because they have a system that thinks in advance. So when you're starting, wherever it is you are, take a deep breath, acknowledge the fact that you are top 50 of 499. Let me repeat that. You are top 50 of 499. That's a big number. So even as we prepare to go towards Friday, you can begin to have conversations about being a finalist, all right? So what are we looking at developing in terms of being able to position ourselves? I call it the media kit. Photos. Now, these you think through in advance, all right? So take a photo of the award, the trophy at the event. You also take one as you receive the event. You and the trophy, you buy the banner. Of course, I'm sure Rachel will have a banner. So you buy the banners, you come and take good photos. There will be the professional guys, I don't doubt. But if you have a smartphone and your lens is clean and you have somebody with a stable hand, I promise you, you can get your own set of photos that you now put up as your precursor. I have arrived at this place, okay? And then you and your team, when you get back to your shop, okay, to your office, and then now position it on a shelf somewhere or on your desk. That's just a list of things I'd like you to keep in mind, because this is preparation. You're curating your media packer. Contact, who do you want to tag? So if I put it on LinkedIn, I would definitely tag Biashara Africa. I will look for all the names of the judges. And if I get the names of the jury, I will tag them. Why? As you build value for yourself, you build value for others. So whatever platform you're on, I hope you're going around and looking at names. You go and you look at the Biashara Africa logo, so that when you tag and it pulls up a name, you have the right one. Why is that important? The algorithms online support us when we support others. It's really easy and it costs nothing. So your team, your clients, your mentors, your supporters. And at the end of the day, the thing about getting prepared in advance is that so when you hit that place, you're able to go quickly. Remember, I talked about how major corporations have everything in place. So here are a few ideas. Have a write-up, because when you know what it took to win, and we'll talk about that in a very short bit. But here are some tips. If you're putting on LinkedIn, FB, IG, let's stop at 400 words. In fact, 400 is many. If you can do 200 words, that's like 2.5 paragraphs of your excitement of winning and what it means. That is one. You take another 200 words about what the journey has done for you. Different image, different text, okay? If you have media contacts and you want to make a big splash, please have a press release. I believe in this ecosystem. There are people who can help you put that together. And short captions. You know your WhatsApp status? Greatest marketing tool. And I'm certain we're all using those ones. So you can have awards gala loading on your WhatsApp status. Then you put up pictures of you at the event, so that as and when you're the winner, you have your award to put up. If you're not, please do not put a downer, what's the word? Post. Because remember, and I need us to remember this, we got into the top 50 of 499. All right? And then if you have marketing tools you normally use, then have a quick update ready. It could read finalist at Biashara Africa, all right? Or it could be winner of this category, but you need your draft piece in place. And I know many of us do our stuff on our own, so go to whichever software it is you use and have it ready. How does that help you? Boom, at the end of it, you have something to put up. Positioning is about preparedness, all right? And if you have a community like many of us are building, send them a quick newsletter. Once it's done, it's Friday morning. That could be the one thing you do on Friday afternoon or even Saturday. Monday is too late. You want to strike the iron while it's hot. Now, I know this sounds like a lot of pressure. That's why I'm saying let's start in advance. Begin to think about what you would say, to who you would say it, and how you will say it. Okay? So what are the storylines any of us can use? First of all, each one in this room has a compelling story to tell. You have started the business, you have begun to hit profitability, you have seen social impact, you are still alive post-COVID. How many businesses failed because of COVID? Okay? So things you could think about. How did preparing for this award help your business? I had the privilege of being a judge, and when I looked through the questions, I realized it's not an easy thing to do. You had to think about, beyond what your turnover is, what's the impact you're having on the community? How will you be sustainable in the future? So I'm sure for some of us, this award has deepened our thinking on some of those things. So capture the learnings that you found along the way. What did it feel like to be a finalist? I keep hearing, I feel good, I'm excited, I feel honored. So how do we turn that into a story? Okay? How has being a finalist inspired you to prepare for the next award? Because you know, my people, you cannot stop at one. One of the things I find about taking part in activities like this, they force us to grow. Okay? And then you can celebrate your fellow winners. So you are 50 here. There is a link, there's a YouTube clip that has everybody in this ecosystem. Can you go to the Biashara Africa YouTube channel, find that link and share on your socials, all right? And then come back and say thank you. The one thing we very often forget to do is to say thank you. And you will find when your social spaces are oozing with all this realness and authenticity from you, what it does, it draws your people to you. So we do have the traffic, we must drive to our sites by ads and all that, but there's traffic we can draw in by tagging one another, by sharing meaningful stories, and just by being positive and authentic. Tuko pamoja, if we're together, let me see a YY in the chat. Specific stories for winners. How will, keyword, will the award change the trajectory of your business? You cannot go back to Kalongo if you have now upskilled, okay? You cannot go back to the ways you are. Rachel has clearly said, we want to come back 6 to 24 months from this Friday and track how you have been growing. So one of the ways to position yourself is to declare the things you want to do, not the details, but we would like to grow by 30%. And us as judges, me, I'll come back, but then I'm that person. I will come back and I will look at what you are doing and we can have a conversation. The power of what you do is the power of your story, okay? So who has supported you the most and why are they valuable is another story you can tell. So let me digress to something. When you go to the history of the West and the North, you can track their lives from the BCs. They have their history. They know where they come from. Africa is largely oral. Our ancestors passed information down the lines by telling stories. Now, if those stories are not captured somewhere in writing, whoever tells the story first, that becomes a story. Remember the proverb, the story of the hunt will always be told from the perspective of the hunter until the prey speak up. For very long, the narratives that have come off the continent have been largely driven by external sources. If somebody funds you, they'll talk about the funding they're doing in Kenya, in Nyanza, in Mombasa, in wherever. But we are not telling the story from our perspective of how that thing has transformed the community. So for some people, it will just be numbers. If you're Supporting communities, I believe it's Aisha who talked about doing water for the slum area where she is. Why is the water important? Okay, how has the water changed their lives? It's beyond just drinking. The mothers are going to hospital less, the children are in school more, the fathers are more comfortable where they are, which means the community is more productive. So there's less time spent getting and maintaining health and more time spent generating income. That is a story that must be told from both sides of the coin. So I need us to understand every opportunity you get beyond the sales and of come and buy my peanuts, come and buy my honey, buy my bags. I'm certain anybody in all these ecosystems, there are lives that are transformed. You've put income in somebody's hands. Talk about that also, okay? So when you talk about how the award will change your business, those are the things I want you to be thinking about. And then in 6 months, over the next couple of months, keep tracking. And then in 6 months, come and measure. So we had 30 customers when we became one of the top 50 finalists because of how we positioned ourselves, yada, yada, yada. We now have 350 clients. Or we were able to bag an order of this big, all right? How many people have you reached? How has your order volume changed? How has your income changed? How has your community changed? You have to track those stories. Why am I talking about it now? Because when you do the math, and you won't have it perfect, but get your big pillars in. What stories do you want to tell? How do you want to tell them? What platforms are your current customers on and your future customers on? So there are things that you may need to go to platforms you're not truly comfortable with. And when you're building global brands, you need to be on the global professional platform, which is LinkedIn. It doesn't matter whether or not it doesn't make sense. Tag it in your mind to understand it. Because what you then have is an online positioning strategy. You need to be on these platforms, not to waste time, but very often all you need is 20 minutes a day and decide how often every week you want to put up original content. If you are in product sales, it is likely to be every day. If you're in services, you can do it a little bit less, but it is driven by your audience. So you have to go back to your audience identification, which I know you have down properly. Find out where they are, how they want to receive information, and give it to them in that format. So then what you have done is you have spread out the work, which is how it becomes usable and how it becomes easy. Tuko pamoja? Are we together? If you are with me, put an NN in the chat. I don't see any, so I must have lost people somewhere. If I've lost you somewhere, I can see them coming. Please drop your question in the chat also. I can see them, good stuff. So here is what I think is critical going forward. Furiously taking notes. Good stuff. You have to rework your mindset, and that's why it is in bold. The most critical part of this process for you is to understand, not arrogantly, not in a way that will demean people, but understand you are at the top of the game of a certain segment. Why are you at the top? Because you have put in the work, all right? So rework your mindset. I do not expect any of you from this point on to be woshe. No. If you could be in the top 50 this round, surely you could be the top next round. What are the things you now must say to yourself every day to remind yourself how you got here and how you must continue? I will go scriptural. To him whom much is given, much is required. Don't ask me, John F. Kennedy said, don't ask what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. You have answered that call. So rework your mindset to understand that you are positioned at the top and settle in that one. If you have to sit there for 2 days and let yourself marinate and understand it, please do. But it cannot, your 2 days have to be shortened there. And then go back and refine your USP and your value proposition. Just make sure it is clear in one sentence. What do you do and what value does it give to your customer? Do your value proposition from your customer's perspective. Okay? And then go and update it's your website or your socials. Add finalists, Biashara Africa Awards. If you haven't, please let today not end before you have a post about that. All right? And then update your elevator pitch. Now, this is one caveat I'll put on your elevator pitch. Most of us as entrepreneurs expect that the first time you pitch to me in those 60 seconds you have, that I'll buy from you. No, I won't. But if it's good, I will come back to you. Okay? So make your elevator pitch such that, and I'm certain as you've gone through the process, you've had pitching lessons, make it such that it is grabbing. Practice it. Call people. Try it on them. Practice until not only is it perfect, but you say it with confidence, you know? When somebody listens to you, they're like, I want to buy those njukus. I want that bag. I want that water. I want to travel and see that farm, all right? When you update your elevator pitch, because here's the reality, you will begin to scale. Positioning like this helps you scale. And as you scale, you'll need to get investment. So take time to understand. If you don't have one, put together your pitch deck. If you have an existing pitch deck, with this in mind, you need to be able to update it to be current, okay? And there's something we've all said: network, network, network. Network in spaces like this, network in physical events, go for exhibitions and talk to people, go to meetings and learn things you do not know. I have the insane habit of going to IT meetings because I want to learn something I don't know. You put up something about a topic I need to have a basic understanding for, I will show up. Why? Because I will always talk. I'll always put my name in the chat. I will always introduce myself, and I'll meet somebody who can maybe not give me the money I need, but connect me to ideas. And I'll give a short story as I wind up. I had the privilege of going for a conference about the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. Big stuff, and I was there because then I was working for the SME Founders Association, and it's an accelerator and a business support organization. In my capacity as a BSO, I was not on the same level as a lot of the other guys in the rooms because they are traders. But I learned to sit in the background of their conversations. So I made friends and I got picked up, and we were taking a tour of Cape Town. And the person who was taking us around is a local investor, very well connected. By the end of the 3 days we were there, we had a conversation about what I do. We were 5 of us, and he said to us, I cannot invest in any of your businesses because 1, you're too small, 2, you're too unstructured, but I will help each of you structure. If I was not sitting there quietly and listening to conversations and contributing one, I would not have gotten that connection. So networking isn't only about making that sale. It's connecting to somebody who has an opportunity that will sort out your current problem. So if your problem is funding, maybe they'll get you connected with a finance coach, or they'll connect you with a mentor who will help you put your financial model together. Or they may have an opportunity to pitch and share it with you. But if you haven't reworked your mindset, if you haven't refined your USP and your value proposition, if your website and socials are not up to date, you can't pitch, your elevator pitch is off track, who will come and sit with you? So the first level of positioning yourself is mindset. The second is preparation. What can you do in advance And yes, I've seen the question about sharing the slide deck. I will share the slide deck. Because when you prepare in advance for the question that is coming, it's like when you're going to a pitch conversation and you don't know your financials. You must know your financials. Because when you are able to have a framework you can work within, then you go further. So my request for all of us is to take time in the next couple of days and think through these issues. When you have thought through these issues, you are better positioned to speak up and connect with your audience and take advantage of the award. Understand and remember that you are part of the cream. So even if on the given day you do not become the top in your sector, you have still achieved a major milestone. Out of 499 people, you are top 50. I hope that is helpful, and thank everybody for your time. Back to you, Rachel.